What's going on? We back here on Past Speaks. And I came across a video from a channel called Johnny Arnett, or that's the name of the narrator. And the name of the title caught my attention. I just wanted to see what he was talking about. The title reads, How the Media Destroyed NBA Discourse. Now, this discourse word is something that just came around here recently in recent times. I guess that means discussion, whatever. But I definitely want to see what this video is about from Johnny Arnett. So let's take a look.
I've been an NBA basketball fan for a very long time at this point. I'm about 35 years old, and I remember vividly the debates we had in the late 90s and the early 2000s.
And I actually used to play at a high level, still do, but that's why a lot of you niggas need to get the fuck out of here. I ain't listening to none of that bullshit y'all saying.
And other people who are my age or older in the comments section can back me up on this, but we didn't argue about our favorite players the same way that we argue about players today. Sure, I remember conversations about Tracy McGrady and Kobe Bryant and which one was better, but at the same time, I can still admit that Kobe...
I used to fuck with my nigga Evan. He's a huge Kobe fan. Before the Nikes and shit, he was a Kobe fan when he wore the fro and wore Adidas, nigga. A real Kobe fan. Number 8. And I used to fuck with him and say Tracy McGrady's better than Kobe just to make that nigga mad. But at that time, there was some validity to it. You can make an argument at that time.
Kobe was a bit of a ball hog at times, and that there were some instances where it would have been smarter just to dump the ball down to Shaq. Nowadays, basketball fandom has become so tribalistic that if I make comments like that with any hint of objectivity, I'll be called a hater and immediately get accused of being a LeBron James fan.
I agree, Johnny Arnett.
So now basketball discourse is in a total mess, and that's been a major topic of discussion over the last week on social media. Some people want to blame the old heads for their grumpy nostalgia and how they're constantly hating on the younger players. And then some people want to blame the newer players and fans for their insulting disrespect of previous generations. But I gotta be honest, I think these are two sides of the same coin. In the 1990s, there were still former players like Wilt Chamberlain and Julius Erving who was in fact calling the 90s soft and saying that the modern players couldn't hang in their era. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to make the point that
they were really just hating on Michael Jordan, man, especially Julius Erving.
The 90s are the same as basketball today. I'm just trying to make the point that this...
Y'all see Hakeem Olajuwon, the best center ever. Fuck Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. They were great players, yes. Hakeem Olajuwon, way better player than both of them. Any center, past or present.
Kind of rhetoric has been going on for a very long time. But over time, these debates have devolved into insults and into tribalistic sheep-like thinking. Just like you guys, I have peers who are so obsessed with LeBron James that in order to diminish Michael Jordan, they have tried invalidating his entire era time and time again, even though in reality, LeBron and Michael Jordan did compete against a lot of the same competition. And then on the opposite end, I have a lot of peers who are big fans of Michael Jordan, and they are so devoted to their GOAT that they can't bring themselves to say anything.
That comment said most overrated player.
And then on the opposite end, I have a lot of peers who are big fans of Michael Jordan, and they are so devoted to their GOAT.
Now that comment says most overrated player in history, LeBron Ramon James. I'm glad I can help too easy. I agree with that, but in my opinion, the most overrated player in NBA history is Kobe Bryant, nigga. That's a fact, nigga. And LeBron James is a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant, man. Y'all motherfuckers are caught up in scoring. And inefficient scoring. Loser scoring, man. Fuck out of here.
That they can't bring themselves to say anything positive about LeBron James. I think if they just took a moment to try to acknowledge that he's a good passer, they would spontaneously be engulfed in flames. I understand that both of these sides have some faults, But if you're exclusively blaming one side or the other, then I think you're truly missing the real puppeteer in this situation. Both of these sides have been influenced by the media. As much as I try to remain as objective as possible on my channel, I can even admit that I've been influenced by the mainstream media. For example, whenever
if you have true basketball knowledge and a solid opinion based on that knowledge, nigga, can't nobody influence you to feel how you feel about what you see, bro. So if you let mainstream media influence, yeah, they can assist you with seeing stuff in a different way, or introduce something to you that may change your mind about something, but they can't just influence you to, I guess you can call that influence, but what I mean is persuade you or sway you to reconsider your opinion on certain things. Now, when they present certain things to you or bring up something, you say, "Oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way." You got a point. That, but not just, "Oh, okay, well, he said that, so maybe it is like that. Well, let me think like that." Or no, only if it's a cold hard fact, or like I said, they have a point. Then it may, you know what I'm saying, you may change your mind about something. Or I guess it may sway your opinion, whatever. But if you have, overall, all in all, if you have real basketball knowledge and a solid opinion based on that knowledge, bro, nobody in the mainstream media is going to influence you to think different or say something in agreement with them, unless it is indeed a fact.
they say something
or a good point,
incredibly stupid, I usually make a video responding to it. In a way, I am contributing to the discourse by even acknowledging it. The thing is, the discourse and bias has gotten so bad that it's nearly impossible to completely ignore as a content creator who is discussing modern trends. The truth is, the mainstream media has gotten so out of hand, and if you want to look at how basketball discourse has changed, you first have to examine how they've changed. Back in the day,
and yeah, mainstream media does be tripping, especially ESPN, because I've caught Stephen A. Smith twice in a lie since I've been doing these videos. I can't get into it specifically. I know one of them was Luka Doncic's field goal percentage the other day. I think it was against the Timberwolves. He was like 6 for 22. He said that the nigga was like 11 for no. He was like 6 or 7 for 17. The nigga no. He was like 6 or 7 for 19, and this nigga was saying that he was 11 for 19. I'm like, bro, don't do that. And them saying the Lakers, I just had a lame ass nigga in my comments talking about the Laker defense. Still hasn't produced numbers like Stephen A did in my previous video about how and why the Oklahoma City Thunder are the number one defense. He pointed out every reason and every stat as to why Oklahoma City is the number one defense, number one in deflections, number one in steals, number one in charges taken, number one in three-pointers given up, shit like that. They've not once told us how the Lakers are a great defensive team. I don't give a fuck what none of you lame ass niggas that ride LeBron's dick are talking about. Fuck out of here.
We did have SportsCenter, we had After the Horn, we had PTI, and various shows on ESPN. And I remember when cold pizza first started taking off, and it was this fun, hilarious new thing.
There was another lie called Stephen A, and I just can't name it off the top right now. Let me rewind this a little bit. And if I'm talking too much, fuck you.
The truth is, the mainstream media has gotten so out of hand, and if you want to look at how basketball discourse has changed, you first have to examine how they've changed. Back in the day, we did have SportsCenter, we had After the Horn, we had PTI, and various shows on ESPN.
Around the horn, sir.
And I remember when cold pizza first started taking off, and it was this fun, hilarious new thing where Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were constantly yelling at each other. With that being said, there was only so much of this that I could take.
Yeah, I used to love First Take when Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless were going at it. I never really watched Cold Pizza, and I used to love Pardon the Interruption. But those shows have changed over the years for sure.
because it was obvious that they were playing a part and their opinions were dramatized to say the least.
And around the horn.
But unfortunately, as time went on, that became the norm for mainstream sports media. But unfortunately, as time went on, that became the norm for mainstream sports media. Let me ask you a question. Do you remember shows like NBA Open Court, where legends of the game were talking about their eras and about present NBA basketball? And they were sharing their experiences and comparisons as everybody around the room was talking positively about the game of basketball. It was purely for the love of the sport. Former players appreciating current players and drawing comparisons to greats of past generations. And now...
Yeah, but that was before all the bullshit started, my guy. Like, nigga, the bullshit really didn't start until LeBron left Miami. The bullshit started when LeBron went to Miami, made that announcement and everything. But it didn't start until LeBron left Miami and Kevin Durant went to the Warriors and all that. That's when a lot of the bullshit started, man. For real, for real. And then these new players came in.
It's not on the air anymore. But you can find these knuckleheads constantly arguing and repeating the same talking points over and over for 5 days a week. I'm talking about guys like Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe, Skip Bayless, and Nick Wright. Some of the most biased NBA, quote, analysts that you will ever come across. As social media took off, these mainstream networks started realizing that they don't just want you to see the highlights and appreciate the players, but they want you to be talking, arguing, engaging, and nothing raises engagement like conflict. Now take this next point of mine with a major grain of salt.
And there's nothing wrong with engaging like that, debating and all that shit, comparing and contrasting. But at the same time, it has to be a balance. They do it too much on ESPN. Fox Sports, they have a lot of different shows that are cool. And I guess they do the same thing. But ESPN is the worldwide leader of sports. So we're just going to focus on them. And ESPN, they do overdo it with the debating and all that shit, going back and forth about different players and anything. Like I said, it's cool to have a show or two dedicated to that. But yeah, there's no balance on ESPN as far as that, man. They only talk about the Lakers or whoever the Lakers are playing. And I mean, rightfully so. In regards to that, shit, who else in the NBA? There are great players in the NBA, man. But the NBA is really lacking the quality players that they had back in the day, man. I'm sorry. These players are good, yeah, but they're not playing with a purpose and really concerned with winning and shit like that, man. I could probably count on one hand, and I can't even I don't even want to do that right now, so it's going to take too much time. But yeah, man. And then, like I said, with ESPN, there needs to be some balance in who they talk about, who they highlight, things like that. And also, like my guy just said, sometimes we just want to talk about the game, the numbers, and appreciate, what happened or the players. But these players today make it hard to do that, bro. I'm sorry. And maybe that's due to social media and things like that, and more people having an opinion and getting it out there, and that maybe influences ESPN to talk about these things more or go into the conversations that they have. But at the same time, man, these players give analysts and social media personalities or YouTubers, so to speak, they give them the ammo to talk, or go back and forth with comparisons and debates and things like that. And debating is good for sports. It's good as long as, like I said, there's a balance, man. And ESPN has a problem with that.
But a friend of mine once said that he had a friend who worked for ESPN. And again, anybody can be embellishing the details here, but he told me that his friend who worked at ESPN said that the way they came up for their topics of debate was by simply jumping on Twitter and seeing what people were arguing about. Then they would decide on that spot who's...
See, and I just said that. that maybe social media is influencing, you know what I'm saying, ESPN and companies like that to have these debates and back and forths about who's better, comparing and contrasting players. But like I said, the players give them a reason. But I just said that, bro, that social media is influencing that. And it's crazy because if somebody did work for ESPN and did get that information to him, that inside information, it makes sense, bro. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out or come to that conclusion. But that's funny that he just confirmed what I said and gave what I said a little validity.
Taking each side of the debate, and then they would go from there. Allegedly, it's all fabricated, it's all rehearsed. There's no authenticity, just manufactured conflict to entice viewers and create more conflict in the basketball community. Now listen, I always suspect.
I agree with that because sometimes I think Stephen A says stuff that he doesn't believe or doesn't mean. A lot of people, but a prime example is Stephen A. Smith. And he's a prime example because he's always around, always on TV. He's everywhere. But I think a lot of times, he says shit that he really doesn't mean or that he really doesn't believe is true. And that may be the case for other personalities, but especially Stephen A. Smith.
That this was the case. But the moment I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt was when Skip Bayless pulled this BS in 2019. After Kawhi Leonard joined the Los Angeles Clippers, Skip Bayless walks on set wearing a Kawhi Leonard jersey. Now remember the context of this time period. Skip Bayless, who had been rooting for Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs, had been...
Skip Bayless needs to stop wearing Jordans and like sneakers and shit. He looks stupid, man. I don't know if he's having a midlife crisis or what. But he always got on some Jordans, some sneakers, trying to look cool and shit, hanging out. Or I guess Lil Wayne is one of his good friends and shit, wearing gold chains. Get the fuck out of here, Skip Bayless, man. Trying to fuck bitches and offering them $1 million. This nigga's crazy, man.
Taking a dump on Kawhi Leonard time and time again, as he left the Spurs on very ugly terms. Skip Bayless was his #1 hater day after day after day. But it was at this time that Kawhi Leonard had just led the Toronto Raptors to their first championship in franchise history. And he did it with one of the most impressive playoff runs in NBA history, as he was frequently drawing comparisons to Michael Jordan. At that time, in that specific window in history, people were genuinely wondering if...
I remember that, man. That was out of hand when they were comparing Kawhi Leonard to Michael. They need to stop doing that, man. Like I said, if you're not considered like the greatest, like a LeBron, we understand why he's compared to Michael Jordan. But Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Edwards, stop with that shit, bro. Because I remember when they were saying, I remember a friend of mine was saying Kawhi Leonard was Jordan with braids, and they were comparing him to Jordan. I'm like, what? I've never understood that. I don't see anything about Kawhi Leonard that resembles Michael Jordan at all. The fuck out of here. And it's even more evident today.
Kawhi Leonard had surpassed LeBron James as the best player in the NBA. So in that moment in time, it was easy to pit LeBron James of the Los Angeles Lakers against Kawhi Leonard of the Los Angeles Clippers. The hallway rivalry that we had always wanted in the NBA playoffs was now being led by the two best players in the NBA.
And shit, it probably could have been a good rivalry it probably could have been a good rivalry and what is the word I'm trying to find? For lack of a better word, like a valid rivalry. Like those two players were at the time two of the best players in the league, or the two best players in the league. And Kawhi Leonard, of course, winning his championships and finals MVPs, and then winning one in Toronto. Once he got to the Clippers, and then LeBron was on the Lakers, that could have been a big rivalry, man. But Kawhi Leonard ain't really shit like that, bro. He's a good player. He ain't a great player. And I guess he's been injured, and that's why he's kind of slowed down in recent years. But man, ain't nothing wrong with him like that, bro. If there's something that wrong with him, he needs to fucking retire. Because he was acting like he was injured when he was with the Spurs, man. Ain't nothing wrong with Kawhi Leonard like that. At least I don't think so, and I don't believe that shit, man. Because the nigga can play. He plays when he wants to. And I don't understand why he's missed so many games. Like, what is actually wrong with you, Kawhi Leonard? Has that even ever been confirmed? Like, what exactly is wrong with Kawhi Leonard? Because he always plays off and on. He misses more games than he plays. This is a weird case with Kawhi Leonard, man.
So what does Fox Sports do in all of their wisdom? They tell Skip Bayless to now become the Kawhi Leonard guy, so that he could have daily debates with Shannon Sharpe, arguing about who's the better player. As you all know, Kawhi's stint in Los Angeles.
Well, I mean, if he goes to Los Angeles and, that's good for TV and the ratings, I guess, ain't nothing wrong with that. Even if he was hating on Kawhi Leonard when he played for the Spurs or whatever the case may be. And I thought Skip Bayless was a Spurs fan, but I don't remember him knocking Kawhi Leonard. Maybe he did, but if he's doing this, so what? It's just, he's an entertainer at the end. He's on TV. They're there to give you the right information and also be somewhat entertaining and enlightening, nigga. So ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't believe because he came out there with a Kawhi Leonard jersey, and they want him to be the combatant. They want him to combat with Shannon Sharpe, because he's always riding LeBron's nuts. So they want him to combat that with backing up Kawhi Leonard, especially now that he's in LA. I don't see anything wrong with that.
Didn't go as well as initially expected. But the point is, when this originally went down, this was painfully obvious that it was manufactured. And this was a symbolic representation of everything that's wrong with basketball discourse today. These are the faces and these are the leaders of the chart.
That may have been manufactured in regards to Skip Bayless wearing the Kawhi Leonard jersey and being on Kawhi Leonard's side, I guess. But I don't see anything wrong with it, and shit. At the end of the day, Skip Bayless has always felt how he feels about LeBron James. He's kind of switched it up these days, or he's kind of softened. I wouldn't say switched up, but softened up on LeBron these days. But he's never been one to just, ride LeBron's dick like Shannon Sharpe and sometimes Stephen A. Smith or Nick Wright or some or niggas on YouTube. So I don't see anything wrong with that.
Who are influencing the rest of the basketball community with their talking points. Now, you can't just appreciate the greatness of Michael Jordan. You have to bring up the fact that he played against firemen and plumbers. You can't just appreciate a LeBron James moment within a LeBron James moment. You somehow have to shoehorn Michael into that conversation to create conflict.
Well, a lot of times LeBron brings that on himself, man. He'll do some shit and then start calling himself the GOAT and all that shit. LeBron brings it on himself, so I ain't trying to hear that shit with LeBron. He would be appreciated more if he didn't do a lot of the fuck shit he does off the court and, outside of actually playing basketball. So when you do shit like this and you got other players doing shit like this, you got the chosen one tattooed on your back, you embrace the king, you call yourself the GOAT, you want others to call you the GOAT, then nigga, yeah, when you do something, we gonna compare it to Michael Jordan. That's probably wrong, so what, nigga? You bring that on yourself. So get the fuck out of here,
man. You can't just talk about a legend like Wilt Chamberlain with total respect. Now, you have to make the point that he played against players who are only 6 feet tall. Even though we know for a fact that you don't actually believe that, Stephen A. Smith. Personally, I think this is the real reason why basketball discord is now in a rut more so than ever before.
But it's natural to compare players. Like I said, I just brought up Hakeem Olajuwon and Wilt Chamberlain. And I've done a video about Wilt Chamberlain and Michael Jordan. But it's natural to compare players, man. People appreciate Wilt Chamberlain. Like I said, I appreciate Wilt Chamberlain. But when I brought up him and Hakeem Olajuwon, he's not a better center than Hakeem Olajuwon. And they have just as many championships. They have 2 championships. And shit, Hakeem Olajuwon was the franchise player or just the number one option on that team and the best player on that team. Wilt Chamberlain was probably the best player on his team, but he played a lot of other great players, man. I think he even played with Jerry West. Jerry West is top 10 greatest of all time, man.
But that's just me. I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section.
And that's the end of the video, man. So we'll stop it there. But yeah, Hakeem Olajuwon played with Mario Elie and Clyde Drexler, of course, and Robert Horry, Sam Cassell. They had a squad, but listen to that, bro. That's who he was. That was his supporting cast. And not to say they were trash, but shit, man. Hakeem Olajuwon was the truth, man. Block shots, points, had a nice jump shot, short 15-foot jumper. Can score really anywhere 15-foot or lower. And shit, could make fucking free throws, man. And like I said, has 2 championships, man. So, but nonetheless, man, I agree with what Johnny Arnett said in this video. I didn't agree with the Skip Bayless thing. I didn't see anything wrong with Skip Bayless wearing that Kawhi Leonard jersey. And, Stephen A. Smith, like I said, I believe a lot of times he doesn't believe what he's saying or doesn't, he's not really invested in what he's saying. He's just saying shit, man. But that's the mainstream sports media. It's all about money and ratings at the end of the day. So, whatever. That's why we have alternatives and people can just choose alternatives. But all in all, man, the NBA discourse, ain't nothing wrong with it like that, bro. It's just a lot of motherfuckers, well, the players, but mainly crying and complaining. A lot of people who ride LeBron. It's all really predicated around LeBron James, man. And the motherfuckers who love him and suck his dick. If that wasn't the case, it wasn't even all of this shit that's going on, the debating and all the comparing and contrasting. It wouldn't be a big deal if it wasn't for LeBron James and him crying and shit and trying to convince everyone or sway everyone's mind that he's the GOAT. That's all that's about, man. But that's all I got, man.